Welcome to my studio. My name's Tommy. This is Sadie, one of my little friends here. All right, Sadie. I've got a lot to talk about today. It's been 3 weeks since I did a regular floss tube. I did Flosstube extra last week where I dyed two different fabrics that I'll show you today. I've got starts on already, which is really exciting. So yeah, go back. I think it was Friday. I think it was Friday that it came out. It's very hot here today and muggy. I've had to turn my air conditioner off because it's old and it makes that rattly near death sound, but it keeps going. So I might have to pause and cool down halfway through and then come back and finish up. So let's see, what do I have for you today? 3 new starts. One's technically a restart, but it feels like a brand new start because it's totally different. 2 whips that I've been working on. And I forgot to say last time that one of the reasons I didn't have a whole lot to show stitch-wise was because I had been really pushing to finish a couple quilts. The one back here was the main one that I had to get done. This is going to be, well, I'll talk about those at the end, but quilting was taking a lot of my time the last time, and the first, I'm into about halfway through since about 10 days ago, everything eased off and I was like, okay, I've made my deadlines. I can relax a little bit. I hate deadlines. I really hate deadlines. I almost always get them wrong. Like I'll write down in the calendar the wrong month or the day before or the day after. And how many times have I showed up to a doctor's appointment after stressing about it for weeks on the wrong day and then had to go again the next day, or have missed it by a day? Let's see what else is new. Other than the heat, it's finally stopped raining every single day, so that's nice. But it's been pretty cool, except for when it's not. So the days when it's not cool are pretty steamy. The garden's loving it. It's a total jungle. My whole front yard is vegetables and herbs and fruit bushes and apple trees, and they're going berserk. And the deer have come to visit, and they haven't even really put much of a dent in it, to be honest. So let them. Let them. They finished off the lettuce, which I was tired of lettuce, so I was happy to have them eat my lettuce. I don't have a scarf on today. You can probably see this is red and this is white. I had not dyed my hair with a permanent dye ever in my life. And I started going gray when I was 18. And it was a genetic thing. It started with a little patch here that was from my dad's side of the family. And on my mom's side, women just go silver early. My mom was 40 and she was mostly silver. And me too. And I thought that I was starting to look a little washed out and I was feeling a little bit, you know how you get sometimes. You get down on yourself for no particular reason at all. And so last fall, I did a bunch of research. I didn't want to use toxic stuff, so I used henna, and I loved how it looked. But I'm not a fussy person, not fussy, but regular maintenance of how I look is not something that I'm used to. Let's just put it that way. Like for these videos, it's like the only time I ever wear makeup, or I don't know. I just like actually get into an outfit. I usually try to do something with my hair because it drives me crazy if it's down and around. So, it's thinning because of, I don't know, I'm 51. I guess people lose their hair. That's part of the whole thing. I don't know. And I was just getting pretty self-conscious about it. And I thought that dyeing it would help, but it actually made me more aware of it, and then having to maintain it because it actually grows pretty fast still. So yeah, I just decided, I don't know, maybe it was March, that I was going to stop doing my roots. It's a huge pain in the neck, right? Anyway, so this is more my natural look, and I kind of like it better. Sometimes you have to like do that, I guess, before you realize that the way you are is just fine. So, word to the wise. The way you are is just fine. So I guess that's all my little catch-up things. It's hot. Okay, barring catastrophe, I'm ready to start. So the first, I'm going to go through whips and then starts and then plans and then the quilts. So, and if I'm really feeling tech savvy, I will try to put timestamps for chapters down in the notes below. I hope I do better with words than I am so far. Okay, so the first thing that like everybody really responded so well last time to my strawberry fields. So this is and I think a lot of people are familiar with this because it apparently has been pretty popular. Before I started cross stitching, I didn't realize how popular it was, but since I've started stitching it, I've seen several different people with it. And it's really cool how, you know, everybody follows the pattern, but then there's parts where you don't. Like some other people have left out this this pot, this zigzaggy pot, just like I did. Some people have stitched it and it looks fine. You know, I think it's one of those things where, you know, the photograph doesn't do justice to the pattern. And so I don't know, but I'll show you down and we'll look at where I've gotten to. I hope that I've got the color on this good. It looks good. So the first thing, what I had last time was the border, and I had added this arch and changed that from being straight across. So these little strawberries were the top corners, and I just made an arch. And I'm still thinking there might need to be something floating up here to really pull that together, but I'll leave that till last. So I worked on this 4 days right after I showed it to you last. And I started with the red of the house. I did the windows, the door, then I think I did the roof. I came down, I did the grass, and you know, this is the only thing that I really wish I'd had a over-dyed floss for. It would have been nice to have some more variation in this, but it is what it is. And then let's see, then I put in the bird, and I made him a red-winged blackbird just because I love them and they're around all the time. He doesn't have his berries on his little, he's got something in his beak there. And this same thing, there's 3 more berries on here to do. Got this big berry done. This railing was surprisingly difficult because it's like, I don't know, each one is different and they're all at an angle. I ended up ripping it out once. And then I did this. And then I came up here and realized that I had done the whole roof without leaving space for the leaf to overlap. So I had to carefully frog out just a couple stitches there. And then the chimneys, it took me a while. The chimneys are red in the pattern, but I wasn't sure if I'd like that. But I tried like this dark gray, I tried a lighter gray, and I didn't like those at all. So the red, I'm happy with the red. So from there, I think I'll just continue up this side, and then I'll come back here and make these stems go. So here they stop at the second window, and I'm just gonna wrap them around. They're not gonna touch here, but I'll make it look like they're maybe on the next lump of ground behind there. So then I'll once I get that done, I'm just gonna wander up here and just make all this vining stuff fit, add a couple extra leaves, whatever I need, maybe another bird. One thing I'm not gonna do, I didn't even realize it until somebody commented, but there's 1992 here, and there's a letter B over here. I had seen the letter B, and I don't care to put the date on there, so I might just leave. I'll definitely be leaving the numbers out and maybe expanding into that space a little bit so it's not just left empty. And somebody suggested, I had pointed out that this berry is missing on purpose, and somebody said that I could put my initials in there. I like that idea. I might just do that. So we'll see. So strawberry fields, and I'll show you the back. I've been watching, oops, there's a string. There's a couple Flosstubers who always show the back. The Thread Gremlins usually talk about the back. And Colin from Stitchpocalypse usually talks about his backs too. And so I've been paying more attention. I think this one's looking pretty good. It's not terribly messy. Down here it gets a little messy where the stitching is full coverage in these little spots. But it's going okay. Sometimes I just have a day where everything knots up, and I think it might have to do with humidity. Because it's definitely, you know, not all the time, and it's not the same colors or floss. It just depends on the day. So I'm really happy with how this is coming along, and the response has been really great. I really thank you so much, everybody who messaged me, or I got quite a few Instagram followers from the strawberry fields too. So yeah, I'm really liking it. It's small, it's sweet, it's complicated without being complicated. I wish we could all be that way. So that's strawberry fields. Here, I'll hold it up here. So maybe get a little different, a little bit different idea of it, because I don't know how the colors on the overhead look. Yeah. Sweet. Sweet, sweet. Okay. So that's strawberry fields. I'm going to try to stay a little bit more organized this time. I got a little lost in the middle of my last video. I think I missed a couple things, and I still don't know what exactly. So let's see. My next one is Mother Earth, and I'll put her up here, what she's going to look like done. And this is another one where the mock-up, it just doesn't do it justice at all. I gotta cut a thread here. Hold on. Not a floss thread, but you know, like stray fat threads. Okay, so here we go. I'll aim the camera down. Let's see if we got it in focus. Move her up. There we go. So this is going really well. I made a lot of progress. Last time I just had this central, this is like her dress and the ground. And I did this entire motif and the little yellow bud centers here. Yeah, it went really smoothly. And the more that I work on this, the more impressed I am by how it's charted. Because, you know, when I first looked at the pattern, it was very symmetrical to me. You know, I didn't really dig in deep. But none of these things are the same from side to side. And I felt like I kept making all these mistakes. And I would go back and I'd try to find the mistake. And I'd realize, like, oh, it's not supposed to be the same. I mean, there's still some mistakes in there. Like these get a little bit too close, I think. But overall, you know, that really adds to the movement and the, I know it's a lot more fun to stitch. Once I realized that was going on, it was much more fun to stitch. So that was, I mean, that's probably just me being a newbie, not recognizing that that's what was going on. The only thing that I'm not quite, I don't like the way this light yellow looks here. So I have here this little, I don't know, it was an oatmeal container at one point and I covered it with fabric very awkwardly. Please don't judge me. So this is, I don't know if any of you have watched Marion's World. She does embroidery, like sort of freestyle embroidery. And she has what she calls her tangle, which is all of her offcuts and, you know, ends. And so I've got my little tangle here. Some of this was, I don't know, various places over the years I've acquired little bits. And I thought maybe from here I could pull just a couple things to do the centers of the flowers, just different bright colors. And I think that might be a good way to do it, you know, instead of that pale yellow, which is kind of insipid, right? Like, meh. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know exactly what I'll pick yet. These three look good. Maybe some, I don't know about red. Red's too Christmassy. I'm really into hot pink lately, as you will see later. Ooh, that's a variegated one. That's cool. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking here, that because there's going to be this whole ring of flowers around here, and I think the centers would add to the movement if they were different colors. So that's a way of like personalizing it without really changing it very much, because it's really nicely designed. I don't want to move things around and change anything in particular or add anything in particular. But I do like the idea of a couple little more pops of color. And in the pattern, like every other flower doesn't have a little center, but I think that if I do all the different colors, I will do every center a different color. So yeah, that's where that is. It's not fast. It's kind of slow because every single thing has to be really carefully counted and I have to look at it and really focus on it. So it's not the kind of thing that I'm going to do when I'm feeling like I need to relax or I'm a little distracted or somebody's going to be home and talking to me back and forth. There's lots of things I can do during those times too, you know. This one's more like a mid-afternoon concentrate kind of thing, you know, like on a day when it's not too sweaty hot. I'll sit on the porch where the light is good. It's not that hard. I mean, even though the values on the brown and the green are really similar, it's not hard to see, and that's partly because it's Aida. This Aida, after I dyed it, is just really nice and soft. I'll hold this one up too so you can see. Let's see here. Just gonna fold it a little bit. It gets pretty washed out. Let's see. I've been trying to think other people. Yeah, like here is more what the colors actually look like. Like the brown is more warm and they're about the same value. So not sure how that's, I don't know how, I don't really have a clear idea how I'm going to finish this one. So we'll see. We'll see what it ends up, how it ends up looking. And I've gone through 2 skeins of the green already. And this is 2 more, and I've got plenty. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 more beyond that. So I don't need to worry about running out. Okay, so those are my starts. I think I will pause the video just for a minute and get a little bit reorganized and show you no, those are my whips. I'm gonna show you my starts. I'm gonna get a little bit organized and do that because it's already chaotic. Okay, I'm back. It's still hot. Okay, so starts. All right, this one is, I introduced it last time. So it showed you all the floss and everything. But this is, Ooh, there's the glare. Summerhill. It's Rosewood Manor, a Karen Kluba design. It was copyrighted in 2021, so it's not that old. And I plan on doing, there's 4 of these, one for each season. And Summerhill, we have Summerhill State Forest just north of us. And we spend every summer we have our favorite little haunts. There's some like dirt roads kind of crisscrossing it. And it's not an even shape. So, you go up there and you could just drive into the woods and, get the dogs out and they can run or not. Now that they're getting older, they don't run so much, but it's great. It's great being able to get out there. And so Summerhill, that just caught my eye when I was just kind of coasting one evening and couldn't sleep. And so then I started looking and I was like, yep, I really like this. I like the colors, really remind me a lot of what we've got going on here. I love ditch flowers. Like, there's daylilies and there's all kinds of stuff. Chicory and daisies and black-eyed Susans and vetch and just all these colors just explode this time of year. And that's what these colors remind me of. Is ditch flowers or fields that have been ignored for maybe a year or two. Queen Anne's lace, which is white, but it's one of my favorite flowers. I have a quilt idea, like an art quilt idea to do with Queen Anne's lace. But yeah, I mean, look at these colors. Aren't they just amazing? And so one of the ways I talk myself into this is a lot of, even for DMC, it's an investment, right? But I decided that it made sense because each of the patterns has a lot of colors, and I thought, well, it's a good way to start building up my DMC stash, I would eventually like to have a complete set, so that at least I can use it to, decide what I need to buy. Right, even if it's just a couple strings of each color. So this will get me a little bit of the way there. I got not a big start. We'll aim you down, and it's not a big start. Oh, I forget what the color is. Newcastle Smoke, something like that. It's printed. It doesn't have, it's plain white on the back, but it's a Picture This Plus 40 count. And I'm doing this 1/2, which is looking good. I'm liking how that's looking. I don't know if this is going to focus. Nope, it's not going to focus. My old camera, it's, it is what it is. So yeah, this is the bottom. I started in the bottom left. So it's just this little bit here. So I've got space for those. And I want to get all the way across to the other corner before I start filling in the color. Just so that I don't get too excited and get ahead of myself, right? I would, this will probably be one of 2 or 3 focus pieces through mid-September. This is only 3 days of work, very distracted days. I was pushing deadlines with quilting, and this didn't get as much time as I wanted to put into it, but it's a start. It's solid. I know, like, I can see it. It's doable. And I've photocopied. Well, I had my son Luke photocopy the chart, so I've just been working from the paper chart, and I like it. It's not as hard. Like the strawberry fields, I was surprised at how easy that one is to work from the chart too. So I think I've had trouble with Quaker Virtues. And I think the problem is the chart, it's older and it's not computer generated. It's not quite hand drawn. It's kind of like a little bit in between. And it's just really hard for my eyes to focus. And so that makes counting even harder. So I think I might try to get that one into Markup XP. I haven't done that before. I'll have to watch some tutorials and see how that works. To like make a PDF and then bring it in. I don't know the process, but I'm sure that with a certain amount of frustration, I can figure it out. So this, I'm really excited to really sit down with Summerhill and just dig in. I mean, this colors are just so luscious in there. So I'm hoping that this year to really get a good chunk of the hill done. That's what I hope. I'm not going to make goals for myself. I imagine this is going to be a 2 or 3 year project since I'll only work on it in season. But that seems like pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable goal. Okay, so Summerhill, good start on Summerhill. Okay. So my next start is one that I teased last time too. Well, I didn't tease it, I guess. I showed you what I was going to do. It's Do Different. While I get this organized over here. For the downward camera, you can look at what it looks like. I originally was going to do this on the same piece of fabric that I had tried to do full coverage map of Middle Earth on. And that fabric is not a true cross stitch fabric because it's longer in one direction than the other, even though the stitch count is the same. Which I tried to convince myself that I was okay with that. But my husband knows me really well. And so he's like, no, you should get good fabric. And so I decided to dye it. And the original plan was, was to dye it so that it looked like the inside of a ripe peach. You know how it gets like really red around the pit, and then it's orange, and then you get that red in from where the skin is on a really ripe peach that's not quite rotten yet. So that was what I was going for. But in the whole laying things out and trying different colors and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I decided, sorry for the crunching. This is my floss. This is Sulky 12 weight. Color number, which I can never remember, 1096. I love it. It's my favorite color. I'm wearing it. See? This dress is years old. Well, last week I did the Flosstube Extra, and I dyed the fabric for this. So I'm going to aim you down and you can see what I've done. Okay, well, here we go. This is super, super bright green. And I bought expensive fabric, but I dyed it myself, and I gave myself only barely 2-inch margins. And so I sewed onto the edges. I sewed this just white muslin so that it would be easier to put it in a hoop and the edges wouldn't get all distorted. I don't know how I'm going to be finishing this. I'll probably, if I frame it, I'll be framing it myself. So, you know, that is what it is. But this fabric is so cool, the way it turned out. Look at that modeling. It's just so nice. So if you want to see how I did this, go back and watch the Flosstube Extra. It's not gotten a lot of love. The algorithm really hasn't found me yet, so help me out and give it some love and learn a little bit at the same time, because it was I mean, I've used these materials to dye fabric before, but not for cross stitch, just for like applique, like little pieces that I might need to be a little different color, and so I would, you know, play with it that way. And it's called Dynaflow, and it's made by Jacquard, and really interesting stuff. It doesn't change the hand of the fabric at all. It's totally easy to stitch through. I don't even think it shrank when I did it, and you heat set it with an iron. But so I decided just to go, this is 2% or almost 2%. And I only worked on it 2 days. I started it on the 19th, and I did like 3 across, and then I did 4 across, and 4 across, and then 4 across again. So I'm just going not quite typewriter style, but I find like just doing a single line ends up, you know, not on the bottom here, but up here you end up carrying a lot. But if you do 3 or 4 in columns, so I'll do up 4, down 4, up 4, down 4, up 4, right? And so I work my way across like that. And I find I make many, many fewer mistakes. I feel like it's an efficient use of my thread. For this pattern, that works. I think if it was more of an organic pattern, it wouldn't, but this one's very structured, right? It's so that works really well. So this is going to be my weekend stitch, because it's really easy to pick it up and put it down and do little short stints with it. Yeah, I like it. It's exciting, and it's fun to work on the bright colored fabric. I think this is the brightest color. I mean, it's pretty crazy. The camera gets really confused. This is a good example of color theory. My hand looks lobster pink, right, against this green, but it's not quite lobster pink, right? Oh, that's something else I wanted to say. Look at the back of the linen. So the dye, the way I dried it, it sucked all the dye up to the top. And so the back is light, almost like a printed fabric would be, but it was fully saturated. So that's really cool. I'm going to play around with that more. I've got some sun printing, like indoor sun printing ideas from doing this, which that would make really cool cross stitch fabric too, wouldn't it? Like just like a bunch of leaves laying out and shadow. It would depend on the chart, but I don't know. So that's where I am on that one. There's a couple little spots, like I've been fussing at this. This is a little light spot, but with this dye, because of the way I did it, I can go back in and just touch that up if it shows up in the final product, right? Like that's not a big deal. But sulky is definitely, this is definitely something I'm going to be using more of. When I have a big stitch that's monochromatic or mostly monochromatic, I think this is going to be my go-to, because it's so easy to stitch with. It doesn't knot very much. It's easy to thread it. Really like it. Really, really like it. And it stays shiny. Like I can use an arm length, 20, 24 inches long, and it stays shiny and doesn't shred all the way up to the end. So it is economical, even though it is a little more than DMC, of course, but not enough to make me not buy it in the future. So I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I tried that out. And I've got 5 spools. I'll probably need more, but it's one of those brands where I'm not so worried about dye lots. And I'll know soon enough. Like I'm just using 1 spool, and then I'll see how many stitches I have at the end of that spool, and then I'll multiply out and see how many more I need and order them at that point. So did I say, yeah, this is 40 count. It's 1/2. Oh, the other thing about the sulky is the texture. Like it's like Braille, kind of. Like it's not as squishy. The crosses aren't as smushy, even though they have a lot of volume and poof to them. Poofy. It doesn't get squished. Even when I ironed it, it didn't squish down at all. So I'll hold this up so you can see the whole piece. Sorry for the creaky chair. My husband tells me my chair creaks too much. He's going to fix it, he promises. But it's a 100-year-old chair. So that's the full thing. And that color, the color of the fabric looks right, but the stitching is kind of getting knocked around by the lights. Yeah, that looks better. So it's starting to come out. It's starting to come out. I don't know how long this is gonna take me. For now, I'll just be working on weekends and we'll just see where that goes. Okay. This next one is gonna take me a little bit of doing to set up for the down under camera, but I kind of want to do a big reveal, right? So this is Wings of the Dove. I'll put the mock-up from Modern Folk Embroidery. And I started this, the first time I started it was several months ago. Oh, I smushed some stitches. I'm having trouble with the hoops, smushing stitches. I've had a couple people tell me that they recover, but so far I'm not liking how the hoops smush things, because I like it really tight and straight. I like to make sure that like all the threads are straight. I don't like stitching on a straight line that goes like that. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I started it on a really dark fabric, a 28 count, I think, or a 30 count linen, and I really didn't like it. It was really shifty and I couldn't get the stitches to do anything that I wanted. So when I was playing around with putting colors up on floss drops, I just kind of, I don't know, the right things were laying out at the time, and I started thinking, ooh, you know, this floss, I'll put it down there. So that's my signal to myself that I need to do the down camera. You guys don't have to look down. So I'll show you. I've got this corner, and I started on the frame with there's double lines of stitching around and several layers. And this is how, so I did really narrow margins again so that I could conserve fabric, sewed on the white waste fabric. But when I finish it, I'm going to be using this batik around. So that gives you kind of an idea, excuse me, of what the colors are going to look like. It's pretty cool. It's subtle. It's subtle in a really bright and crazy way, right? So this was my ripe peach idea, and this pattern stole it. This pattern, it was definitely the right kind of colors for this. Like I wouldn't have wanted this batik to go around the long dog. That wouldn't work at all because of, you know, how structured and linear the chart is. But this chart has a lot of curves and movement in it, not yet, but you know, there's the dove in the middle and lots of kind of scroll work in the borders. So I think this is going to be really stunning. I really like this. And this was really fun. This is the second one that I dyed in my Flosstube Extra last week. And you know, it turned out very different. similar process, but this was a little more involved because I used quite a few, well, I think 4 colors to get this the way I wanted it. But yeah, I like how it's coming together. And it's really interesting how this gold and this both start to look green in certain lights. I can see it here. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera as a little bit green, but that's kind of a cool play off of this really warm peaches and magenta. Let's see. So when I started in this is the bottom left corner. And I did 2/2 for these outlines because I wanted it to be a little different, to pop a little more, but I didn't want a different color. So this is 2/2 and it has more dimension, and this is 1/2, same color. And so it sinks in a little bit more. It's really hard to get the 2/2 stitches to look good. And then I squished them with the hoop. So I was going to do the whole frame first, but I think now I'm going to just do it as I go so that I don't have that smushing problem. And plus it is honestly, it's hard on my hands to pull through every, all the 2/2, because those holes get filled up really fast. It would not work if it was 3 stitches wide, since it's only 2. 2 wide, it barely works. 3, it wouldn't. So I'm glad I'm doing it, but I'm not going to do it all at once. And so I'll slide this around a little bit. You can see like the variation. So up here, it gets lighter, and then it's more orange. This part's really pink. And so I talk about how I decided to weight the colors. It's very subtle, but from top down, it gets a little bit darker and more pink as you head down. And that is my way of sort of giving weight to the pattern. I'll hold it up and show you. Ooh, that doesn't work very well, does it? Oh, there you can see it. So you can see how from the top down, it gets just a little bit more pink and dark. Not a whole lot, but that suits the way the chart is too. And then let's see. So you can see the difference there between the 1/2 and the 2/2. Just a little bit. Very exciting. This definitely feels like a summery piece, but I might not work on it a whole lot this summer. I might sort of save the bulk of it for January, because January and February are just not my times of year. Central New York, you never know what it's going to do anymore these days. Like last winter was the first winter where it felt like winter in a long time, years. Some years it's been, tricking the flowers into blooming in February, but last year was cold and it reminded me why I really don't like winter. The grayness gets to me a lot. I don't know, but I take, it's funny though, we end up going out and I end up getting some of my best photographs of snowscapes. Go figure, right? So with these new starts, I need to make some project bags. I don't know if I'll get to that before I come back to you next time. I've sort of picked out, like I'm not I'm not going to be buying fancy project bags. I love them. They're beautiful. Some of the fabric is just amazing. People do a great job, but I'm just going to use some of those scrappy things from my stash. I was given a whole load of fabric this winter. Actually, I think my very first video before I was doing Flosstube, you can go back, and I'm sorting through this ginormous pile of scraps. So I'm going to be using that primarily to do project bags for myself. Just, I like having them. At first I thought, I don't need a project bag. Like, what's that? Yeah, you kind of do. To keep, maybe a Ziploc bag would work, but something to keep each project sort of in its own space. That makes sense to me at this point, for sure. Okay, well, let's see. So that was Wings of the Dove. Oh, I didn't say I've got it to 7.7%. And the first time I did it, I had it just a little past 13. So I'm catching up really quick. And it took me forever to get to 13 on the first one. So I feel confident that I'll be able to keep going on this one and love it. So yeah, I might work on it, but I might save the majority of it for winter. So I guess I'm already talking about plans. So the other main thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to start anything new until probably September. Like I have a couple ideas. The autumn hill will be on the autumn equinox, which is the 21st or the 22nd, I can't remember which, of September. So that's when Summerhill will get put away for the rest of the year, and then I'll do autumn hill. I definitely want to finish Strawberry Fields Forever by the end of August. I don't want to carry that over. I love it, and I've got some momentum, and there's not really that much left to do. So that's like the hardest plan that I've got for my stitching at this point. So yeah, weekends will be different, just because it's a good one to bop in and out on. I could even take that one with me in the car if we were going to be going somewhere. I think that would be possible. I'm kind of a nervous passenger, but I don't really go very far. And then the Mother Earth, I want to keep pecking away at it too. I don't feel any need to like hurry up and get it done. I can just keep working on it all through fall and winter, whatever happens. But I do kind of want to keep it in my active rotation because it has real symbolic meaning for me, and it's good to kind of keep that in my consciousness, right? The connection. And then the other thing that I really have to do is quilting. I will pause and set up. I'm just going to show you a few. So if you're not into that, it's not going to be long. I promise. So pause. Okay, I'm back. So you've been looking at this one behind me. This one was inspired by my son's best friend, Ben. They've grown up together. They've known each other since they were, wee ones, just past diapers. They were friends, right? And so they both graduated this year, and I really wanted to I've kind of done this for a lot of different kids that I've known as they graduate, make them a quilt. And so Ben's he was a Lego fanatic, and he probably still is. I haven't been to his house in a while. So this pattern, it's my own. I found an old block, and if you want to know more about how I started this, I'll put a link in the description. I did a video on the designing of this and everything. And then I decided not to record myself doing the whole thing because I was feeling really stressed and scattered. But this is it done. So my design, it's a lap size. It's like 5 by 6 feet. which is, you know, pretty good size. He can take it wherever he goes without having it be too bulky. I did the machine quilting myself, and this is the first time I did machine quilting where I was not really upset by the result. I was very stressed before I did it, and it turned out good. So I like it. And I kind of, you know, it's funny, like on the screen, you can really see kind of the sort of psychedelic quality of it. But it's one block repeated 120 times, and it's just rotated in blocks of 4. And I kind of like that you can't really tell where the blocks are. Like, it's just one big thing. And I think I figured out there's 1,800 pieces in it, but I used strip piecing to do it. I didn't cut like all the tiny little, but the base pieces are 1-inch square. I've gone through a whole phase of 1-inch square pieces, and this, the one behind me, I'm going to be giving to him soon. I'm not going to be entering that, but there's a quilt show by the local quilt guild, Tompkins County Quilt Guild. I'm not a member because I'm shy. Not shy. I don't do well in person. I get very stressed. So, and I don't drive, and their meetings are, you know, I'd have to drive. It's not going to happen. But you can enter the quilt show without being a member, which is awesome. And so this little quilt, it's not too big. I designed and made, and I entered this one. So I'll give you the down low camera for this one, because it's a little bit more difficult to see. It's not as obvious. So this is just a baby size, and the blocks, there's a couple ways that I could have done this. Like, it could be these 16 patch blocks alternated with these, but I made it hard on myself. And I did it like, how did I do it even? I don't even remember. I think I did it like this, big blocks. But again, it's one of those ones that it just kind of disappears once you get it all together. And the quilting on this turned out really nice too. I used a yellow thread. That one I used a royal blue on the front and a red on the back. I didn't show you the back. It's got Lego on the back. I found a printed Lego fabric. But this purple one was all from Stash. And I think I may have bought one of these. No, I got these. These were thrifted from a yard sale. The solid purples were thrifted. And then the corners, I didn't have quite enough purple, so the corners are blue. And the middle, you know, I just used as much as I had and just made a pattern, made a design with it, you know. So there's light blue or light purple and dark purple, and they kind of alternate. And you know, some of these materials, these scraps I had for decades, like this brown one, was from a maternity shirt that I made for myself. My daughter is now 25. This, I made a sunbonnet for myself 20 years ago. So yeah, it's kind of cool having all that together. I might put this one up for sale. I'm not sure if that's allowed as part of the show. And it's got a sleeve on the back, so it can either be functional or hung on the wall. But I'm quite proud of this one. I really like this one. Here, let me hold it up again. Yep, this one's called Lilac Trellis. I'm terrible at naming things. If anybody has a better idea for a name, please Feel free to offer up your opinions on new names. And so the last one is not done. It's the one that's been on the frame behind me. You've seen in several videos. But I had to get it done enough to take off the frame to photograph. You can enter things that aren't finished, but you have to prove that it's done by August 15th. So I've got 2.5 weeks to finish quilting this. So that's where a lot of my time's gonna go. I'm not gonna try to hold this all out. So you can see I've got it hooped up right now, doing what my son calls God rays. Apparently that's a thing. I didn't know that's what they were called. But so the center motif is this slice of tree slice. Oh my gosh, I'm doing terrible at this. Hold on, there we go. And the center is like this silk in my color, of course, manganese blue. And then there's embroidered moss. And if you can see the stitching, that's hand quilted, like the rings of the tree. And then the outer part is hexagons. And then the quilting is just a big stitch quilting. And then I've turned it into a, what is it? A wrapped running stitch, you know, where you weave through the running stitch just on the top of the fabric. And so that gives it enough of a pop, and it keeps it simple. It's easy to quilt too, it's just straight lines. So I'm not worried about getting this done, but I do have to focus on it. But yeah, so this piece is completely hand done. I haven't used a machine for this at all, partly because my machine broke, and that's one reason I started this. I needed to do stuff that was just by hand. I started this 3 years ago, right before their last quilt show. It's been 3 years since they had this show. And I'm kind of frustrated with myself that it's taken this long to get it done, but it took a long time to decide how to do things. The doing wasn't really what took so long. It's like the brainstorming and then not wrecking it, you know, making sure that, yes, that's what I want to do. It took some time. I've not really done anything like this before. So I've never done a hexie quilt before. I've never done a wall hang. This is the first wall hanging. So there's a lot of firsts here, dimensional stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. It's coming. And these fabrics too, a lot of them were really old or just little bits that I'd found thrifting. There's the Finger Lakes Reuse is near me. I volunteer there, and so sometimes I find fabrics that are really awesome. Oh, the back of this quilt. I volunteer at the Finger Lakes Reuse, and they have a quilting section, and so that's where I got the backing fabric. The ladies that I was volunteering with helped me, and they found it. It's perfect. So, all right. So that's me and quilts. I intended when I started my channel to talk about quilts a lot and to actually do tutorials and stuff, but you know, there's so many tutorials out there, and I don't really do anything that exciting. What I do is really slow, and it takes a lot of time, but it's not really technique heavy or something that most people would need a tutorial on. Some of it, maybe at some point I will, but there's some awesome quilters out there who really do a good job doing tutorials, and I didn't want to try to compete with that, and I think that would have stressed me out. All right, so let me look at my notes. What else do I need to do? Oh, there's a couple people I remembered this time. I'm learning social skills. So I've been watching lots of Flosstube, of course. And there's so many people that I watch all the time, and I've mentioned them before, but there's a couple new people, and there's a couple that I haven't mentioned maybe. So the first one is Curly Q Stitches. I did not catch her name, I'm sorry, but she, I clicked on her video because she had strawberry fields. She was holding up strawberry fields in the card, and you know, of course, I was going to see what she was doing, and she did. It's beautiful. She's got a great a great stitch going, and she has so many pieces that I really, really like that either I've looked at and thought, yeah, they're on my wish list, right? Like one of those kind of floss tubers where you really have a good rapport with their taste. And she's just a lovely person too. So go on, and I'll put a link to her below and check her out. She's doing a good job. And somebody I've been watching since the beginning is Katie Strachan, and she gets so excited. I just love her energy. She's so excited about all the things that she's doing and all the little things that, that all the little sparkly bits and how things come together. And I appreciate how genuine she is, and her work is amazing. Like next level amazing. The kind of thing that I would like to say I aspire to, but I don't, because I know what it would take to do that, and I don't have that in me. The attention to detail is just amazing. And I love how she talks about color. She goes on and on about color sometimes, and I'm glad that somebody else gets into it as much as I do too. And she's really into subtle like differences, and I've learned a lot from her about, cross stitch and how little changes make maybe a big impact in the end. So that's Katie. And the other person that I've been going through comfort stitching, Jackie at Comfort Stitching. I saw her most recent floss tube and was really taken in by it. And so I went back and I've been watching from her first floss tube, and it's just, she is a gem in the community, I think. She has a really great perspective. She talks a lot about the comfort that that's in her name, right? Like how stitching impacts you, and how, like, I don't know, how it's just part of your life, really. I mean, she doesn't say that outright, but it's like, that's like the calm part of your life. That's like the center where you can return to and get straightened out, at the end of a day or a week, whatever's going on. And her work too is really impeccable, and I like her pacing, and she doesn't get caught up in a lot of drama, I guess. She's methodical without being stiff and boring, and I appreciate that. I think that's a good quality. And she's also got an artist background like I do, and so like I can understand some of the things that she's doing, and how, the artist's mind, and how she gets down the little rabbit holes that she goes down. And she's another one who really looks at color and talks about color a lot, if you're into that. And I have a list of 3, and I thought I had 4, and now my mind is blank. I'm sorry. I will have more people like my always watch. I'm gonna have like a list in my description every time for people that I always watch. I don't want to miss them. I might not mention them every time, but I've certainly watched them every single time. And I've also really tried to step up my game with commenting. If I watch at least half of a video, I make sure that I thumbs up and comment, even if it's real short. Because I've noticed other people do that too. And, we don't all have time to write a big paragraph for everybody, or the opportunity, right? Like, but when I can, I've been trying to do that. And the community is what it is because people support each other. And I want to be part of that in whatever quiet way I can. I think that's it for today. That went quicker than I thought it would. I don't know. I still think it might be a longer video because I've been getting better at talking. When I first started, it was really a stretch to talk for even 15 minutes. So it's getting more natural. Thank you to everybody who's watched, who's been here before, who's stuck around this long. I do love your comments. I try to respond quickly, but I try to also give myself 12 hours after I read a comment. And that's because often in the moment, my brain spits out nonsense and I don't want to give just like lightweight, flaky replies to people. I want to give a real reply. And it takes me half a day to process stuff and get there. So if I don't respond right away, I've read it. I might give a heart right away and then come back later and respond. And I was stressing myself out at first, trying to respond instantly with words, and so I think that's working better. Oh, and thank you to Pam of Ditsy Daisy Crafts for mentioning me in her last Flosstube. She's so sweet. That's the second time she's done that. Maybe that's who was supposed to be on my list. Pam. She's in Scotland. She's awesome. If you're not watching her, you should. You should check her out. She can talk. She calls it blethering, which is perfect. So I've got a sad dog here who's probably hungry. 2 sad dogs. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.